Cool. Hi there. I'm gonna give it a second, wait for some people to come in, and then we're gonna jump straight into today's kind of lesson thingy, all about writing drums. So if you're watching on the catch up, just give it a couple of minutes. I'm just gonna wait for a few people to turn up, and then we'll get straight to it. In the meantime, I'm gonna chill out and play some drums for a little bit. Cool. I'm going to jump into things. So essentially today's lesson is going to be all about writing drums. So the first thing I'm going to do is play you a track that with my current band called A Thesis. We're working on a track at the moment, and I figured it would be a good opportunity for me to play you the drum part, basically. So I've got the track here with no drums in it, so all the drums will be live. And I'm just going to play my way through it, and then I'm going to jump into the lesson talking about how I've come up with the parts and breaking down kind of each sort of section of the song. So you'll get to sort of see what I'm listening for, what kind of parts I think fit with certain things, and kind of my thought process behind writing drums. So I'm going to jump straight into it. And yeah, I'll play along to the track. So here we go.
Let me know when you're ready. Go get your shoes on and drive right through the night. We'll take it slow and steady. So get a move on, stopping at every sight, and make the most of this moment. 'Cause you never know what life will throw at us both. It ain't always gonna be roses. So we better keep our feet on the ground. And when life takes us down, we rise up and turn it right back round. And if we hit
Hey Aidan, nice to see you again. So, for your sake, Aidan, essentially what I'm doing today is talking about writing drums. So that was a track from my current writing project, Ephesus. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and all the good stuff. And it's a song that's going to be released in a couple of weeks, and I thought I'd play through the drum part there and sort of give you a sort of taster of that. So essentially, today's lesson is going to be all about writing drums and how I've come up with the drum parts specifically for this song. So there's lots and lots of stuff to talk about, and I'm going to kind of be spitballing here. So if you have any questions about writing drums specifically, chuck them in the chat, and I'll definitely get around to answering them. Or if there's anything specifically that I've played, or any questions that come up, in fact, chuck them in the chat, and I will make sure I answer those. So let's jump straight into things here. Let me swap over to this here. Okay, so I have the Pro Tools session open here from the song Divided, which is the song that I just played. I'll be playing bits throughout as well, so I'll sort of play into bits and sort of show you how I come up with the parts. So you don't have to really understand what's going on the screen here. I'm just doing it so you can kind of I can sort of maybe point out things and sort of show you a little bit of how that kind of stuff works as well. So cool, awesome. So let's jump straight into it. So I'm going to play you bits of the track. So there's no drums in this track, and I do have the drum part sort of pre-recorded in here. But for the sake of today, I'm not going to play any. I might play little bits of the drums, but I want to play you the drums rather than sort of playing the drums off of that. So okay, so let's have a listen to this track. So it starts off with a pretty simple guitar riff. It's just blum 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 blum. So I'll play you that. So have a listen to this. Should be able to hear this. Cool. So this is just the guitar riff that's kind of going underneath it, and what you'll hear.
Just let me know when you're ready. Go get your shoes on, we'll drive right through the night.
So you'll hear this kind of stabby kind of pattern that's come in with a second guitar part when the vocals come in. So the bass doesn't come in just yet. The song's relatively simple in terms of like its orchestration. It's a pop rock track. So guitars, drums, bass, and some synths and vocals. Quite a lot of vocals. So let's jump into to that bit there. So just for my reference, I'm going to use this bit. So these kind of orangey gold bits, if you're interested, these are the second guitar parts, so the stabs. So if I play from here, you'll hear those guitar stabs kind of come through.
Just let me know when you're ready. Go get your shoes on, we'll drive right through the night. We'll take it slow and steady.
And then again.
So get a move on, we're stopping at every side.
Bass comes in.
Most of this moment,
Same stab
you
pattern.
never know what life will throw at us, bro. It ain't always gonna be roses. So we better keep both feet on the ground.
Bit of a build.
And when
And then we're into the first kind of, I don't even think we really named the section to the song. So I'm going to call that, what's that coming into? I'm just going to call it a bridge bit. It's not a bridge bit, but that'll do for now. So let's have a look at how I've come up with the part for the beginning. So I'll play you that first part. Hopefully the levels will be okay. So I'm going to go from the beginning, and then I'll go to that kind of build up. So let's have a look at what's kind of going on there.
just let me know when you're ready. Go get your shoes on, we'll drive right through the night. We'll take it slow and steady. So get a move on, we're stopping at every side. And make the most of this moment. Cause you never know what life will throw at us, bro. It ain't always gonna be roses. So we better keep both feet on the ground. And when life takes us down.
Cool, and so on. So, so the way that I kind of come up with this is it's kind of obvious what you're going to do, right? You've got guitars going ba da dum and so you need to accent that pattern as well. So I've chosen to keep it really simple at the start, just crash and bass drums. I'm using alternating crashes. That's not necessarily a stylistic choice, although it does help. It's more of a playing choice. I could do it on one crash cymbal if I wanted to, but typically when you split between two crash cymbals, and if you're doing quite stabby kind of patterns, it gives you the options. You kind of get the attack from each cymbal. They don't kind of bleed over each other. So and it sort of sounds. It picks up those attacks a little bit more because you've got the two different tones of the two crash cymbals. So that's why I'm doing it with those. When the bass comes in, so da 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 da. Da, da, dum, and then it builds up. So then I move to the toms. So I'm getting over here to here, dum, dum, dum. And then if you pay attention to this particular bit here, where the bass guitar comes in, there's a reason that I place a crash cymbal on the and of the 4. So which will be, where's that? Yeah, so have a listen to how the bass guitar comes in on this last kind of 3 stabs. You'll hear it goes da da dum, and it rings out, and it's the first note that rings out. And I really wanted to emphasize that by playing a crash cymbal, letting it ring, and sort of building to that point. So have a listen to just the guitar and bass part.
So get a move on, we're stopping at every site and make the most of this.
You can kind of hear that there. So what I did in that case was play a fill ba ba bum with a little bit of a flam to kind of build that up. So before that point, it was all kind of toms and ba ba bum, quite stabby, and then blah da dum, and it kind of hangs out there. So let me just play you those 3 stabs.
We'll take it slow and steady. So get a move on, we're stopping at every site and make the most of this moment. 'Cause you never know.
Oh yeah, I forgot where I was. Yeah, so it starts on the toms and then blah da dum to the crash cymbal, which kind of over rings then. And then because the bass is kind of filling it now, I wanted the song to kind of pick up there. So the guitar is doing ding 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 8th notes. So I wanted to play 16th notes and ding 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 to sort of build it underneath that. So that kind of posed a really interesting challenge because I wanted to keep this 16th note pattern going here, but there was the bum 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 kind of going underneath that still. So what did I do? So sometimes you can, rather than playing stabs with crashes, playing them with an open hi-hat and bass drum means you can control the length of the note a little bit better. So let me show you. So with the crashes, you can hear sometimes the hi-hat's a little bit more obvious that you're kind of stopping the note. So I thought, great, we'll work with that. So what I'm doing there is I'm playing 16th notes with an 8th note accent, accenting the guitar part. Ding 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 ding. Sorry, quarter note accent actually. Ding 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 ding. Just sort of helps it kind of drive along. And then a little bit of a tricky figure. It is at this sort of speed. All I'm doing is going 1 ba bum, literally 3 notes, bum bum bum, which sounds like this. Sorry, snare drum on that second one. So bam, 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 and I feel like that really works with that part. Let me play you just that drum part, and then I'll play with the drum. So, and I build that up with a little snare roll there for the end, for the last little bit. So, after that, it's all kind of variations of that. I do a little bit of toms. Again, there's a held note with the bass, so I wanted to emphasize that with crash cymbal. And then nice simple build up, just a 16th note snare build on the, a 16th note roll build on the snare drum, building up to that kind of the first sort of, I suppose, groove section of the track. So let me again play you that up to that point.
Just let me know when you're ready. Go get your shoes on, we'll drive right through the night. We'll take it slow and steady. So get a move on, we're stopping at every site and make the most.
So that's the intro of the song. So moving on from there into the first kind of groove section. Now, this is a really challenging part, not as in this song, but trying to decide on the feel of the song can be quite a subjective thing. Now, what might be kind of fun is for me to play something different in this bit and sort of show you how you can kind of change the feel just by changing the drum groove. So listen to the guitar part first of all, and everything, all the guitars, all the bass, everything is going dun 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 dun. It's just driving 1, 2, 3, that quarter notes? Yeah, quarter notes, bum 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 bum, through the whole thing until the kind of it opens up a little bit later on. But so it sounds like this.
When life takes us down, we will rise up and turn it right back.
Cool, and then it's into a slightly different sound. Actually, and let me play you that second part there. So it's kind of like two parts to this kind of. We'll call this the verse for now. So you'll hear it's dun, 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 all very big, and then drops down bum bum, dum 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 dum, and I really wanted to emphasize that. So one of the things you can look at when you're when you're coming up with parts is how can you create dynamic contrast. And this is a perfect opportunity to do that with this. It's really big and then small, and then big and then bigger again from there. So how do you go from big to small to big to small, for example? That's what I'm doing here. Also, it's really obviously driving, and it's just a quarter note pulse throughout that until it breaks back down. You've got the kind of synth line going digga 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 in the background, a bit similar to the kind of riff from the guitar at the beginning. In fact, it comes back in there as well, that kind of intro guitar part. So let me just play you those two sections, and I'll play you the drums to that part as well. And I've gone for open hi-hat and been really simple with this one. I'm literally playing quarter notes on open hi-hat, snare drum, and bass drum as well. So just going bam, 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 bam. Eighth notes on the hi-hat, sorry, to just kind of fill in the gaps a little bit, keep it a bit washy throughout. And then the same thing, pretty much, apart from changing the bass drum pattern to fit what the bass and guitar do. Bam, bam, dum, 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 dum. You'll hear that in there. But snare and hi-hat stay the same, apart from I go to open hi-hat. So listen to those two parts and how that works.
The ground. And when life takes us down, we will rise up and turn it right back round. And if we hit the ground, we will stand up, get right up, then we'll turn to face the crowd. Get riled up, get fired up.
Cool, there you go. So you heard like a few little fills in there. I can kind of run through those at another time, but for the moment you're sort of hearing that kind of dynamic contrast. Let me show you how different the song could feel if I just kind of make something up completely different. This time I'm gonna change the feel completely, and let's just see what happens.
The ground. And when life takes us down, we will rise up and turn it right back round. And if we hit the ground, we will stand up, get fired up, then we'll turn to face the crowd. Get riled up, get fired up.
Cool, you kind of get the idea. So before it was very driving, but in that time it was more like a very, very different feel. And again, you want to almost imagine how people will kind of move to it and dance to it. That's kind of what I feel like the drums do for music is gives rhythm, which inevitably means people dance to said rhythm. So moving on from there, we're into the first chorus. So have a listen to the guitar parts here again, and just for the record, the way that Ephesus, which is the band that, well, it's just me and a guitarist, but we play everything ourselves, basically. The way that we record, Dean, the guitarist, he will write the guitars and bass and vocals, and we'll get kind of an idea of the kind of feel that he wants. He'll send it all over to me. I'll do the drums, do all the synths, finish everything else off, and mix it and stuff like that. So he tends to be the lead writer, which is a really interesting position to be in because he's giving me something to write to. And often that's part of the challenge is people say, oh, well, how do I come up with drum parts? Well, you need something to come up to, or you need something to come up with parts for, basically. So find a drumless song or a track without the drums in it. Even if it had drums in it originally, try and find a drumless version and just come up with some drum parts. That's literally as simple as it is. And it's just the more you do it, the better you get. So let's have a listen to this chorus and the particular feel we wanted to go for. So we talked about like how I listen to the parts and sort of think, cool, this is what I'm going for. Now with this one, it's kind of obvious just because I suppose it's maybe obvious to me because this is typically the genre that I write within. But it's interesting because this bit's more interesting because Dean asked me to do a certain thing here. He wanted it to be very open, but very kind of laid back. And so the way that I kind of achieved that in this was openness, crash cymbal, and it's a chorus. Come on, crash cymbal. And to kind of create a big sort of open sound with that. Then to create a little bit more sort of space through that, I could have just sort of played a kind of a simple bass drum pattern or even more of a complicated bass drum pattern with this sort of genre. But I wanted to really follow what the bass does, and if you listen to the bass, you'll hear bum 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 bum, and you'll hear this kind of quite long notes. So even though it's a pop punk chorus, we wanted to create space. So let me play you the part and have a listen to specifically the bass guitar in this. We'll end up sort of following and phrasing around that, but I wanted to leave quite a lot of space between the notes, between the bass drum notes at least.
We're not apart, even when we're divided. You'll cut my scar. If it's lost, I will find it.
Cool. Let me show you just the guitar part for a second because, I'll mute the bass synths, and what you'll hear with the guitar part, it's fairly busy. It's not as simple. So it sounds like this. So it's an interesting one because the rhythm is quite a busy rhythm, and I could have bummed, bum, gap, bummed, bum, bum, gap, bum. But I didn't do that because the brief that Dean gave me was to be kind of spacious, essentially. So listen to just the bass guitar this time, and the rhythm is sort of there, but there's a couple of notes that the bass guitar particularly emphasizes. Bum, 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 bum. So it's much simpler when you break down kind of the standard rhythm. Bum, one, one, bum. So that is my underlining sort of feel for this, okay? Is that bass part. So let me play you the chorus. And I'm doing loads of interesting stuff with the ghost notes and sort of I build that up as we go through the song, but mostly it's about that bass drum and being kind of spacious. Bum, 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 and so on. Okay, so let me play you said chorus. So, cool, let me go back a little bit. So I've got a bit of a count in it. Here we go. Probably mute my mic or it's going to be very loud. So you heard that kind of rhythm that I'm picking out there. There's a couple of fills in the middle there, but and there's a little obvious guitar part. It goes gaga. So I fill in there, and then I wanted to sort of build into those notes. So let me play you that bit actually, because it's kind of an important part of the song. So have a listen to the kind of stabby guitar part.
If it's lost, I will find it.
So I wanted to sort of phrase into that and then sort of build that kind of phrase at the end. So I didn't just sort of carry on the groove and sort of phrase it within the groove. I did a little fill building into those last hits that I kind of done between the floor tom and snare. Okay, then veer into the most interesting section of this. This is my favourite section of the whole song, and it's a bit complicated, but there's some interesting stuff going on. So let me sort of zoom in a bit here. Okay, so let me play you the section first of all, just have a listen. Okay, so very spacious now. There's loads of effects going on there. We wanted a real sort of almost like a kind of ethereal, kind of spacious kind of vibe there. So back to the snare drum and hi-hat. I'm back to kind of a 16th note groove, or 8th note groove, sorry, it's just fast. And I'm just gonna play you the part because there's a lot going on here, and I don't know how much detail I really should get into here, but let me play you that.
Then when I'm in the dark, you're love with the light. You are not unlike me.
Cool. So let's break down what's going on there. So lots of odd time signatures, and the way Dean tends to write guitar parts sometimes is, and as drummers we can think of, right, here's 4/4 time. Now I'm going to change a time signature. I'm going to put this particular time signature in, and we can get into this kind of rules-based writing, which isn't always good. It's not always the most sort of natural way of playing, which is why most people tend to avoid odd time signatures. The way Dean writes guitars, he'll write a guitar riff and ignore the fact that it's in different time signatures. He'll write it, he'll sort of feel it and sort of maybe even sing the part in his head, and then he'll figure out what the time signature is of. In fact, most of the time I'll figure out whatever time signatures he's doing, and this one happened to be particularly difficult. So it goes a bar of 4/4, a bar of 5/4, which you'll kind of hear in a moment, back to 4/4, into 3 or 4, I think it's 4 bars of 6/8, which doesn't sound like it'll work, but it does. 2 bars of 6/8, sorry, which you can kind of see here. Then back to 4/4, back to 5/4, back to 4/4, and then finally 2 bars of 6/8, and then finally a bar of 2/4. Let me count through it because it's not very obvious that what's happening. And again, when you're given like odd time signature stuff like this, it's often good to count through it, but it's more important that you understand what the music is doing. It's no good being really amazing at playing 5/4, and then when someone hands you something that's a melody in 5/4, not really being able to hear the kind of underlining phrase of it. Even if it's in even time, we still want to be able to, or common time, sorry, we still want to be able to sing the rhythm back. So let me play that. I'll count through it. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's really hard to hit. Let me put a click on because then there's a lot of effects and stuff going on there. So 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. Sorry. Yes. So have a so 6/8 is an interesting one. Sometimes it can be felt like 6/8. Sometimes it can kind of feel like kind of 3. That's what we're using it in here. So it sounds like this. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1. So the reason there is sort of a reason that it's in 6/8 there. You suppose you could have put it in 3/4, but either way. Anyway, so let me play you kind of what's happening there. So I wanted to keep this kind of 16th note, sorry, 8th note throughout all of that. So that first bit, we got 4/4. Which is kind of a half-time groove. So the snare drum is on beat 3. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I wanted to displace that backbeat because you're going to hear bam, bam, bam. So it really just feels like a longer bar of 4/4. So I wanted to create a bit of space there. So we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, bam, bam. And then we're into bam, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and then into the 6/8. So the 6/8 bits, I've kind of come up with something kind of interesting there. I won't get into this in too much detail, but essentially what's happening is kind of a 3/4 kind of thing, where you're getting, 3/4, sort of. 1, 2, 3. So that's going, but I'm playing a sort of a 6/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, which is why I put in 6/8. So, let me play you how that sort of sits under that. I'll loop the 6/8 bit. So, I wanted to kind of give it a bit of an odd sort of feel there. And then we're back into the same sort of thing that happened before. 2, 3, and so on. So let me play you that bit one more time. Again, I won't jump into this in too much more detail because we're going to end up speaking about this all day because it's my favourite part. And then the little 2/4 bar at the end there is just to sort of bring it back into the next sort of section. So let me play you that. Oh, I ruined that. It's my favourite bit and I can't even play it properly. Let me do it again. Cool. Anyway, so moving on, we're into probably the sort of simplest bit of the whole track, really. We're into the second verse, and this is super simple pop punk, and it's kind of 2 halves. The first half, just 8th notes, dun dun ga, dun dun ga, dun dun ga. Second half to 16th notes. So nothing particularly special there. I just wanted a bit of a change. I wanted to sort of ground it back in the kind of pop punk feel, which is just fast dun dun ga the whole way. And I've just put the 16th notes in there. Let me play you. I'll play you from that bit. So have a listen. Yeah, I kind of go back to, I thought I kept the bass drum the same, but I didn't. I go back to the kind of 4 on the floor thing, again, grounding it back to the kind of previous feel and also sort of making way for the, back into that kind of pre-chorus, I suppose. Again, that sort of driving feel there. back into that. So that's more or less the same as the previous one. And then we're into the chorus again.